Material in this video contains content included in the RBT Test Content Outline, 3rd edition, TCO. D.4. Implement extinction procedures. D.6. Describe secondary effects of extinction and punishment. A registered behavior technician named Eric worked with a 7-year-old girl named Kate. Kate had a habit of throwing toys whenever she wanted Eric's attention. In the past, her parents and RBTs would immediately respond by picking up the toys and giving her attention, unintentionally reinforcing the behavior. The attention they provided maintained the behavior, and she frequently threw her toys because it was a very effective way of getting her needs met. Eric's supervisor wrote a behavior reduction plan that included the implementation of extinction. The behavior reduction plan outlined that both Eric, as well as Kate's parents, would no longer respond with attention when Kate threw toys. At first, Kate's behavior increased and intensified. She threw more toys, screamed, and tried a variety of different ways to get attention. Eric remained consistent, only giving attention when Kate was calm or requested attention with a gesture or words. Eventually, Kate learned that throwing toys was no longer effective in gaining attention, and the throwing toys behavior began to decrease. At school, Kate's teacher tried implementing a punishment strategy to decrease throwing behavior by taking away recess when Kate threw toys. Kate became frustrated and started avoiding her teacher. Eric's supervising BCBA explained that reinforcing a replacement behavior was much more effective than using a punishment procedure like timeout. Eric taught Kate to ask, "Can you help me?" instead of throwing toys. Eric stayed consistent, reinforcing only the new appropriate requesting behavior that Kate had learned. Over time, with both extinction and positive reinforcement through a DRA procedure, Kate learned to seek attention in a socially appropriate way and completely stopped throwing toys. Her siblings at home and peers at school began to play with her more often and for longer periods of time. Kate even made a few new friends who taught her some new games and introduced her to some new group activities. Overall, she was much happier both at home and at school. Extinction in behavior analysis happens when a behavior that used to be reinforced is no longer followed by the reinforcement. RBTs use extinction procedures to reduce behaviors by removing the reward that is keeping the behavior going. At first, the client may do the behavior more, trying harder to get the same result. But over time, if the reinforcement stays gone, the behavior will likely happen less and less. The purpose of extinction is to stop or reduce behaviors that are not useful to the client or may be unsafe. RBTs do this by removing the reinforcement that used to follow the behavior. This helps the client learn that the problem behavior no longer works to get what they want. As a result, the client will likely begin using a more effective behavior to get their needs met instead. When a behavior is no longer reinforced, the client may still try it for a while. This happens because they are used to getting something they want after doing the behavior. But if the reinforcement is not given, the behavior slowly becomes weaker. Eventually, the client stops doing it because it no longer leads to a desired outcome. To use extinction correctly, RBTs need a clear plan. First, the ABA team will identify what is reinforcing the maladaptive behavior. Then, the team will make sure that reinforcement is no longer given after the behavior occurs. RBTs also need to collect data and watch how the client's behavior changes over time. This helps the team make sure extinction is working as expected.
Get informed consent. Before extinction is used, the supervising BCBA must get informed consent from the client's caregivers. When possible, the supervising BCBA must also get informed consent from any client with the capacity to give personal consent to ABA interventions. All stakeholders should know what extinction means, what might happen during the process, such as extinction bursts, and why consistency during implementation is important. When everyone understands the plan, they can work together to support the client through it. Support emotional needs. Extinction may result in short-term increases in problem behavior, including aggression, vocal outbursts, crying, or other observable forms of emotional responding. RBTs should be prepared to implement the extinction procedure as outlined in the behavior reduction plan, while continuing to deliver reinforcement for alternative, appropriate behaviors. If the client engages in behaviors that pose a risk to health or safety, or if the intensity or frequency of behavior significantly increases, the RBT should immediately document the data and notify the supervising behavior analyst to evaluate the need for modifications to the intervention plan. Teach replacement skills. Extinction should never be used by itself. RBTs must also teach and reinforce new replacement behaviors that help the client meet their needs in a more effective way. If no replacement behavior is taught, the client may continue to demonstrate the interfering behavior or try new challenging behaviors to get their needs met. Ethical behavior change focuses on teaching new skills, not just stopping unwanted behaviors. Meet client needs. Removing reinforcement for a problem behavior is not the same as ignoring the client. RBTs must still give the client attention, care, and support. For example, if a client's tantrum behavior is ignored during an extinction procedure for attention-maintained behavior, attention should still be provided for calm behavior. Ethical extinction removes reinforcement for specific behaviors and is not ignoring the client. Know when not to use it. Some behaviors like self-injury, severe aggression, or dangerous actions may not be safe to treat with extinction. In these cases, other strategies like functional communication training or differential reinforcement may be better options. RBTs should follow the plan written by their BCBA supervisor and always use the safest, least restrictive methods.
Key takeaways for implementing extinction procedures. Remove the reinforcer. Extinction reduces behavior by no longer delivering the reinforcing consequence that was previously maintaining it. If reinforcement is eliminated, the behavior is likely to decrease over time. Expect temporary secondary effects. Extinction can lead to short-term increases in behavior, known as an extinction burst. Clients may also show response variation or emotional responding, like yelling, crying, or physical aggression towards self or others. Consistency is critical. Extinction only works if reinforcement is withheld every time the behavior occurs. Inconsistent use may strengthen the intensity of the behavior or increase the frequency of the behavior. Teach replacement behaviors. Extinction should always be paired with differential reinforcement procedures. This helps the client learn a more effective way to meet the same need. Monitor and modify when needed. RBTs must track behavior changes and report increases in intensity, aggression, or safety concerns. The supervising behavior analyst may adjust the plan based on client needs.
As an RBT, you do so much more than follow a plan. You help clients make real progress by using strategies that are tailored to why their behavior is happening. Understanding the function of behavior allows you to apply extinction in a way that removes the exact reinforcement keeping a problem behavior going. Whether the behavior is maintained by attention, escape, access to items, or sensory input, you help the client learn a new way to meet that need. You don't just reduce behavior, you teach new skills. By reinforcing replacement behaviors, you guide clients toward greater independence, community engagement, and successful social experiences. Each step forward is because of your commitment. Your work creates opportunities, improves lives, and brings hope to families. You are valued, and the difference you make matters every single day.